Ever since I was strong enough to hold an appliance unaided, I've been a gamer. Way back when, many years ago, 1992 to be exact, at the mere age of 3, I unwrapped a Christmas gift from my parents, and inside was only a goddamn Sega Mega Drive and a copy of Sonic the Hedgehog. From that moment on, I knew I was doomed to be part of the phenomenon of gaming, and to be truthful, I absolutely loved it. As the years passed though, I've owned a whole bunch of consoles: the Sega Mega Drive, the Sega Saturn, the Nintendo 64, the PlayStation 1, 2 and the PlayStation 3, an Xbox 360, a Nintendo Wii U, and most recently the PlayStation 4, alongside finally joining the PC Master Race. But when it comes down to it, these mere shelves full of chipboards and wires would be nothing without the games to play on them now, would they? So for my first ever countdown, I'm going to look back over my career as a gamer, speak about my 5 favourite games. You may not agree with my choices, but these games have a special place in my heart, and they always will. Hope you enjoy. One of my favourite things is zombies, and anything related to them. So coming in at number 5 is... Threw a bit of a curveball in there, didn't I? Though strictly not zombie related, The Last of Us takes a new spin on the apocalypse scene, in a rather unusual but worryingly relevant way. A mutated strain of the cordyceps fungus. Check it out, it's rather frightening to be honest. But back to the game. Developed by the highly praised studio Naughty Dog and exclusive to the PlayStation, The Last of Us follows the journey of Joel and a young girl named Ellie as they cross America to find a possible cure for the modern fungal plague that has nearly decimated the entire human race. I'm actually going to leave the plot there as I don't want to spoil the plot for anyone who has never played the game, but to be honest, if you haven't played The Last of Us, then where have you been for the last few years? Under a rock? Now what makes this game stand out to me is the way it pulls on your heartstrings. Right from the get-go, we are slapped in the face with emotion, and over the course of your adventure, you are filled with sorrow, guilt, mourning, as well as some beautifully written and portrayed moments of happiness. It takes a lot for me to feel an emotional bond to a character in a video game, but this game absolutely nailed it. Yes, I even got a bit teary at some points, but it's written so well you'd have to have a heart of stone not to feel anything for the characters at all. Aside from that, the game is absolutely beautiful and uses the PlayStation 3 to its full potential. The soundtrack's not too bad either, but without saying, the story is the main draw here, and my lord is it one hell of a rollercoaster ride. It goes without saying that my favourite genre in terms of gaming has to be role-playing games. Be it turn-based, strategy, hack and slash, I just love the feeling of making a character your own, which brings us to my number 4 choice, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. Now back in 2001, a lot happened. I started high school, I had a growth spurt, I found a new love in the form of breasts, and I realised what my penis was for, and my god, I went through some tissues. But regardless of that, however, I discovered this little gem. Though rather standard RPG fare, you know what I mean. Group of adventurers, namely something based around a human, an elf and a dwarf, go around swinging swords and using magic, killing goblins and skeletons to save the land from some kind of darkness. Well, in those terms, this game's no different, although I think it was my first venture into the top-down hack and slash foray of role-playing. At that age, the story and graphics, soundtrack, or anything else remotely technical meant nothing to me. What mattered was the fact that I had a weapon and there were bad guys on the opposite side of the screen waiting to be slaughtered. The main reason this game sticks in my mind though is the fact you could play co-op. The fact I could pair up with a fellow adventurer and take down my hordes of enemies together was immensely fun. So fun in fact that me and my best friend played through the whole game in one session in the middle of the bloody night at a sleepover. There's chocolate, Coca-Cola, arguments and laughter. Safe to say this is a moment in gaming that will always stick with me. When playing video games, we tend to spend most of our time playing as some sort of hero, so sometimes it's nice to just be a bit naughty and wreak a bit of havoc. Thus at number 3 on my list, like the previous entry on the list, released back in 2001 and at the age of 12, that's 6 years under the 18 ratings mind you, I managed to get my grubby little mitts on this game. Blame my parents though. Set in the sandbox of Liberty City, which is actually based loosely around New York City, the player takes command of a former bank robber, Clyde, and our first endeavour is to escape to a safe house after breaking free from a police convoy. That's life of a criminal for you. During the course of the game, we befriend and work alongside gangbangers, the Italian Mafia, and even the Yakuza, as well as waging war on Colombian cartels and the CIA. Pretty awesome if you ask me. But what makes this game so great is the amount of fun you can have straying away from the story itself. Let's face it, as soon as the tutorial ended, we all forgot about the main game, jumped in the nicest car we could find, usually the Banshee, and took a grand tour of the city itself, as well as try and see how much trouble we could get in along the way. One minor criticism I have now though, looking back on the game, is that my lord was it ugly, and it really hasn't aged that well either. But that's something I can easily let slide, and in its own way, the look of the game has a certain charm. It's just one of those games I'll always remember, and going on to become one of the biggest video game franchises of recent years, it well deserves a spot on my 5 favourite games. As I stated earlier, role-playing games are my go-to genre, and now for another RPG on the list, which could actually prove to be quite a controversial one. That's right, not 7, not 6, but Final Fantasy VIII. I warned you it could be controversial. Following a group of mercenaries, known as Seed and led by Squall Lionheart, gamers embarked on a journey to wage war on the sorceress Ultimecia and time itself. At a younger age I really didn't understand the story, and even now I'd say I'm not 100% sure. But it's Final Fantasy, maybe my favourite franchise ever, and for some reason I enjoy this entry more than any other. I think why it sticks out to me so much is the fact that Square tried to change up the formula of gameplay slightly, and whilst many didn't like it, I certainly did. Don't get me wrong, I hate the fact of having to draw magic from enemies and junction it to your characters, thus increasing their stats as much as anyone else, and it literally stopped my progress to a dead halt when facing off against Sorceress Adele as a very underleveled and equipped party, thus leading to the start of the game from scratch. Yeah, rage isn't the word. But going back years later, she got wrecked along with anything else in my path when an adult mind understands the junctioning system correctly. Another aspect of change was the boost ability with summons, or to use the correct term, Guardian Forces. We all had our own preferred method, mine being the Blaster method. As I said, this would be a controversial choice, but I love this game. From the assault on Dolly, the train assassination, the Battle of the Gardens, I just love it. In my opinion, it even has one of the best minigames in gaming in the form of Triple Triad. It's just a damn shame that Square, now Square Enix, has strayed so far from what gamers loved about Final Fantasy, and it will probably never be the same again. So we finally reached our destination. My number one choice, my favourite game of all time, I give you... Now I understand that this title in the franchise may not be the best from either a gameplay or technical point of view, but nostalgia is a strange yet wonderful beast. The Nintendo 64 was the first console I ever owned from said company, so I never grew up around Mario. I was more of a Sonic kid. The fact is though, being a racing game, it really doesn't matter about the characters etc. What matters is that you have a blast going from point A to point B. What can't you like about this game? It's fun, check. It's colourful, check. Great soundtrack, check. The fact that my parents would actually sit down and play this with me, as it was easy enough to just pick up and go, was brilliant. Many people think of Nintendo as catering towards the lower age bracket of the market, and in many cases that's true. But who can argue that getting a group of friends together and playing a few races of Mario Kart is childish or wrong? It brings so many smiles to people's faces as well as showing their competitive streak. I'll always remember rushing to be the first to pick either Yoshi or Toad. That kind of stuff sticks with you, but I suppose it doesn't help with such a small roster of playable characters. The sad thing is though, I miss the old games, the Mario Karts, the Crash Bandicoots, the Spyro the Dragons. Gaming has moved in such a different direction over the past century that games like that, granted a few exceptions such as this one, are more or less extinct. I think it's a crying shame to be honest. As I said, nostalgia is a very powerful thing. And whilst I miss games like these, I'll always have the memories, especially of arguably the best version of Rainbow Road to date, and in my eyes it will never be beaten. I guess I'll always be a child at heart, and I for one am okay with that.